I thought I'd do a special Saturday morning Audiophile Roundtable. Welcome, everyone. What makes a record truly audiophile and worth collecting long term? Kind of interesting that we thought about this before the big news the other day of the Beatles mono box set being repressed, first time since 2014, now sold out. So we're going to for sure talk about that to begin with. Lots to talk about today, and I'm going to bring in some guests here. Again, welcome Saturday morning. Never done a Saturday morning show before, so I'm excited about this. Been a guest in the past, haven't seen him for a while, but let's bring him in. Dr. Robert, good morning.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So let me ask you, did you order the Beatles mono box set as soon as the news hit the other day?
So, I didn't, and I posted some stuff on Instagram, and I've chatted with Mazzy. I know it was such a lot of attention towards it and a lot of excitement, and I think that's great. But to be honest, it's kind of not where my closest interests lie, and I don't have the original 2014 mono box set either. Yeah. I would maybe buy that at some point, but I've got just about every Beatles record, except for Let It Be and Abbey Road in an original pressing of mono somewhere. So it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just not where my deepest interests lie. I'll say that.
Well, you're one in the minority because clearly it sold out pretty quickly, and we can't figure out. And to this day, and I know I've been asked many times before, can't figure out how many were pressed, but Michael and I, before we went live, we have an idea of sort of the minimum to maximum, and we can talk about that. I think we can get there as well. But let's bring in the rest here. Michael T. What a week, right?
Good morning,
Beatles
guys.
Mono box set.
Came out of nowhere. Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago, right?
Absolutely out of nowhere. Just boom, hit up. You get this email. Mazzy and I went live on a special afternoon roundtable. If you guys caught that as well, I mean, people were ordering live during the show. Where's the where do you get to it? Where's the UK site? Where's the link? All this. It was kind of fun. So definitely sold out. But I do want to talk to you and of course Dr. Robert about maybe how many were pressed and what do you think going forward? How many more can be pressed? Because they used the original metal from 2014. Right. To repress this as well. So we'll do some basic math today. You're not a math teacher in high school, are you, Michael?
I taught middle school math for 16 years.
Okay, so
now I teach science. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a science teacher and we've got a doctor in the house. I think and I'm in in the investment industry.
Yeah.
So
I taught math.
So I think between us all, we'll figure this out. So let's bring in a brand new guest today. Known him for a number of years now. The Vinyl Cowboy. Robert Ensley, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. So your background in vinyl, obviously been collecting for years, also in radio as well, just like Michael T for years, if I'm not mistaken, right? What about that? Yeah. Tell us about that.
Michael, you probably might know me best. For 13 years, I was the general manager over at KWOD, Quad 106.5 Sacramento, modern rock station, the rock of the 90s, and then in 2000, we became the modern rock station.
Oh, cool. I worked in radio from when I was 17 years old, 1986 to 2002.
Yeah. You might remember like Marco Collins, who was over at
I was at KISW. So we were in the same building the last few years. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a phone call from somebody, and this is when he was kind of going through some problems. And what's his name over at 91X in San Diego, Mike Halloran, and said, "Hey, can you take a chance on this guy?" And I did, and he was with us for maybe a year, but he was great, true professional.
Awesome.
There's even now a documentary on the guy. So, but
I saw that. It's a great documentary.
Great documentary. But I was there for 13 years, and then worked my way, did some national stuff, and now I run radio stations in Texas and Northern California, Humboldt County.
So you're going to critique my show and how I do things. Oh, I'm now stressed out. Oh, geez, he's going to give me
those
this.
who cannot do teach.
There you go.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us. I know you and I chatted a lot over the years, and you're hugely into vinyl. Clearly, you call yourself the vinyl cowboy. I mean, you buy and sell vinyl as well. You do. I guess you do stuff on Facebook as well, right? You
Anarchy
some
Vinyl.
auctions and all that, right? Okay.
Yeah, Anarchy Vinyl. I have a show tonight. It's every Saturday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. Show on tonight, Anarchy Vinyl. And if you go and look at Anarchy Vinyl, there's a Anarchy Vinyl like Springfield, North Carolina or something. It was one of our sellers that did a store. It's been a whole brouhaha. But if you're searching for Anarchy Vinyl, look for the one that has 3.6 thousand members in it, not the one that has like 25. That's the right one.
Well, thanks for joining us. You're from Florida, I guess. Nice and hot there. We're on the west.
Raining right now, but it's been a nice break. It's been when it's 92 here with the humidity, it's well over 100. It's been that way for a solid 3 weeks, and this is finally a little bit of a break. And it's been
that's good.
Nice, yeah. Thank you.
So, okay, the big news this week, huge news this week. Large Paramount news, the Beatles monobox. You see it behind me. This is my 2014 I picked up. There was a ton of them back in 2014, even at Costco. This was cheap back then. It was $250 Canadian. They're reselling them, reissued through the Apple website. What was it, $545 or $585 US? We were live on the roundtable a few afternoons ago, Mazzy and myself, and during our show, it went and was sold out. I think there's a few left over on the German site, and the following morning on that Friday, a few more, but within an hour they were sold on Friday. And so everyone's asking, is there going to be more? How many do you think they pressed to begin with? And so I've got a doctor, I've got teachers, I'm into investments. We've got enough people here today that know math. So I think we should figure this out right now. I'm going to start with Michael T. So the Beatles mono box set. Let's go back to the basics here. I mean, back in 2014, of course, they pressed X amount. We don't know how many they pressed.
And they were cut by Sean McGee at Abbey Road, from what I recall.
Triple A, absolutely.
AAA.
There's only one needle drop on there. Love Me Do is not from the original master tapes. It's from an Australian cut or something like that. So they had to digitalize that, I want to say. That's the only non-AAA on that entire box. But anyways, so this whole stamper thing, you guys, you need a stamper to make the records. So a stamper can make anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 LPs. Would everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
For audiophile issues, correct.
So
that's what got Mobile Fidelity in trouble.
Okay, so then from there, let's look at it this way. You can get about 20 to 30 stampers from each mother, and about 20 to 30 mothers from each father. Is my math correct? I want to make sure my math is correct here. I don't want to get into these forums where Westman's math is off and it's what's he talking about type of thing. So, make sense?
Sounds right to me.
Okay. So from there, if we just say, hey, how many do you think the maximum amount Optimal can press of this box set, what could it be? Well, let's do it. 20 times the 20. Are you with me? And we can go maximum. There's
400 now, right? We're at 400.
400, and then we'll multiply it again. About the maximum is 1,500 LPs per stamper, right?
So that's 60,000.
So 20 times 20 times 1,500. Would this make sense?
600,000?
100,000. Holy crap.
That's the maximum based on everything going perfect for Optimal. And we know the metal could break.
Wow. Okay. So they haven't made that many yet.
So this is, I want to make sure this is making sense to everyone.
However, they may have cut a second set of lacquers. That'd be interesting to find out if they have a backup set of lacquers. A lot of times they do that.
I was watching a couple of different YouTube shows and reading some forums and what have you. And from what I heard, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but what I'm hearing from this run, when you come Europe, US, Germany, UK, this run right here, right now, 10,000. That's the number.
Okay, you know what? And that makes a lot of sense to me because I personally feel they ran anywhere from 20 to 30,000 in 2014. My guess. But again, I remember. I mean, maybe you guys do. Maybe some of the people watching do. There was a shitload of these box sets, and I can tell you, Abbey Road and Universal at the time were worried because they didn't want to keep inventory like that. There was a lot of inventory, so maybe there was more than 20 or 30,000 box sets. I'm not sure how many there were at that time in 2014, because you got to remember, this is before the vinyl resurgence. This is before everyone was huddled up at home during COVID going, what am I going to do? Are we going to live in 2 more days? Let's just buy as much records as possible. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for more. I think there's only a certain amount that Universal can allocate towards the Beatles at any given time. They can't just close down Optimal and say, okay, we're going to run 600,000 Beatles boxes. I mean, that would be crazy because there's other things that have to be cut. But maybe there's 50, maybe there's 100,000 out there right now. But someone put in there, Dustin said 10,000 is nothing. Someone else said maybe it was 10,000. Maybe put it in the comments what you think. But 10,000 seems to be the number because that sold out quite quickly within a day, and that's worldwide. That makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, I really lucked out. I hemmed and hawed when it first came out because I wanted to see if my mom's boyfriend wanted one. And just in that slight delay, they were gone. And then I'd heard that they were going to think through Mazzy that they were going to release some more in the morning. And I was just kind of playing around in the morning, having my 1 cup of coffee I have. And it said sold out, but I hit it anyways. And it came up, I got it. And it was confirmed, got the email, everything. My mom went and said, hey, can you get one for my boyfriend? I want to get him one. Went right back on, not even 2 minutes later, and they were gone. That's how quick it sold out.
I've asked a bunch of people. I mean, Michael Fremer was part of this whole thing years back. He's on the show on Tuesday, so we'll have a discussion about it again. I asked Fremer how many he thought back then. He didn't know. I've asked people at Abbey Road. I've had Sean McGee on my program. I've asked him. I've asked Miles Scholl. No one seems to know how many were first pressed back in 2014. So we can only speculate here based on our math, and I think all of us will agree the maximum Universal Abbey Road optimal compress of this box set would be 600,000 if the Star, the Moon, and the Sun all align properly.
However, they did issue them as individual titles. That's what I bought last time.
And that's what I was going to say too. So they've individual titles as well back there. So there's even there's even more out there. So it's a supply demand thing. I think because we don't know the supply, the prices are the way they are based on sort of an unknown. And of course, there's definitely a lot of demand for this box. Clearly, I mean, it's maybe they only had 5,000. Maybe they thought, oh, we'll just do a full 5,000 run and see how it goes.
Are there plans to issue the titles individually again, like it did in 2014?
No idea.
Okay.
There's a lot of unknown variables. Yeah, a lot of moving parts.
I've seen the individual titles selling anywhere from 130 to 200.
Now, as I know, I'm going in Discogs to see where the prices are, and I haven't had a chance this morning where the prices of the box set are relative to last week. I know the lowest priced one when we were on our show on Thursday was $1,300. So I want to say, I bet you that no one's changed the prices. I mean, there was people selling the new box set that they had ordered on eBay and they hadn't received it yet for $1,000 to $1,200. So the prices haven't gone down, which is interesting because, I mean, when we did our show, we're like, oh, well, the flippers won't be happy about this. But then we noticed on the website, limited to 4 per person.
Right.
That's, I think, part of the issue.
I think that was a bit much, based on the demand of this thing. And I remember and it's, again, an honor to be on the show. I've been a fan.
Thank you.
I watch the show all the time. And I remember you saying on the show that the people at Abbey Road, people associated with the Beatles, were not happy with the fact that the flippers that this was going for such an amount of money, and this may be a reason why. Maybe 2, maybe should have just been 1 per person.
Exactly. Look at that. See, Emi says they don't want to feed the flippers. Well, here we go. 4 box sets per person. I thought, that is where the problem lies right there. It should have been 1.
Yeah. And it still would have sold out as fast.
Rick's V was saying in the UK it was one set per person. So why was it 4? Maybe they screwed that up.
It would have sold out maybe in 5 minutes instead of 2 or something.
So going back to our math, we're saying the max they could do is 600,000, or clearly they don't have 600,000 mono box sets pressed. We know that. And I also found out that, Michael, the box itself,
Not muted, Mazzy.
The box is printed at GZ Media.
The outer box?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know that. There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here's a box. Leland was saying sold on eBay yesterday, $1,200 in a pre-order. So that's the pre-order box already selling for $1,200 USD. Yeah, that's the thing, right, Rocky? 4 per person means the flippers got them. That was, and Miles Scholl came on my show. Was that the week last Sunday, a week ago now, and he was telling us, like, look, they don't want Universal and Appy and Abbey Road they want people to have these records. Well, having 4 per person, that doesn't really solve the problem.
Well, again, like you said, Stephen, if the people associated with the Beatles and the powers that be were so upset, they just created their same old problem again.
Or you can give up on all this stuff like KRWD there. Yeah. But I think there'll be more eventually. There's definitely, now that Universal sees the market for it, they clearly have more to go. That's for sure. I know, Dr. Hart, you were saying you didn't buy it. You didn't get suckered into that FOMO. We're seeing less and less FOMO. So this is kind of fun that there's FOMO today. But is it something that you would think about doing if it came out again?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think I would be interested. But as I was saying, it really doesn't fit with my collecting habits. I mean, I have almost every Beatles album in an original mono pressing, so I have the records, I do get repackages or repressings occasionally, but usually what I'm looking for is something that adds to the original, either adds additional music or something else about it that wasn't on the original in some form, and then it draws me in. But that's just my habit. So I wanted to say,
Mono Masters. Do you have that?
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
It's one of the titles in the box set is the complete Mono Masters.
Yeah, right.
LP set.
Yeah, no, I don't have that either. But so I'll say, Steve, and I don't want to brag because, but I will say, you don't become a doctor without doing homework. Yeah. And last night I did my homework for this prep, but I think I may have been prepping in the wrong areas, but
we talked about it. You've been texting me. It's fine.
We'll just power through. I looked into this box set. Mazzy put me onto it, and the Wax put me onto it as soon as it dropped. So I did get on the website early enough to buy it if I had wanted to, but it just isn't on my. It's just not on my radar really. So yeah.
So I was just looking at this comment here. Leland was saying that the Beatle guys that are in the know, there will be available for everyone soon. From the looks of it, of eBay, a lot of people are waiting on restock. That's what we were getting at. I mean, going back to our simple math class, we just figured out there's a maximum of 600,000 they can press.
Yeah.
We know that no way they press 600,000.
I don't think it'll go that high, yeah.
Because if it was 600,000, that's going to decrease supply demand, right? That's what makes us go. Just
maybe if they did individual titles, if you included all of that in there.
I think the individual titles will knock it down a little bit as well. I mean, if we can take what Miles was saying about Universal wanting everyone to have these Beatles records, then yeah, at some point we're going to see more of these things. I don't think you need to jump the gun and go and grab $1,000 Beatles box set on eBay just because. I think that's silly. I really do. And also too, and I would advise you, and being in the investment business for years, don't go in debt for these things either. Don't just, I'm going to put it on my credit card. It's only $585. Well, they're charging you 19 to 25% interest on a daily. Do the math. If you don't pay that off, you're never going to make your money back on it. So please don't, guys. Wait till you have it. There's millions of Beatles records out there. You can stream it if you don't have the money. There's lots you can do.
You can write it off your taxes, right? If you buy 2 and sell 1.
So we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to guess at some point we'll see more. That's what I'm going to say. Absolutely. So it was kind of fun because I mean we put this show together and this topic together before that we knew about this whole Beatles mono box drop, which in the audiophile world is big, right? This is probably one of the biggest news events we've had in a number of years, I would say. Michael, would you agree?
Yes.
And it
And
came from nowhere. Yeah, it's one of the best kept secrets this year.
Well, I mean, in years, actually.
Yeah.
And I honestly think the pre-order thing and selling out is a part of the marketing. There's definitely going to be more, because now that it says sold out, the hype's just started, you know?
Well, I will say it's cool to see the excitement about it. And honestly, I kind of feel the same about Record Store Day. Record Store Day is also, for me, not kind of my main focus. But I love the idea that anything that brings people in and gets them excited about vinyl, you know, I love to see it. So.
But I mean, you know, there's going to be people out there that will buy these on eBay for $1,000.
For sure.
I wouldn't. I would wait. I would.
Patience is a virtue.
The Beatles have been around for what, 60 years? There's lots out there. For the $1,000, hey, you could probably help, you know, feed, you know, you could probably feed yourself instead. I mean, don't go into debt, please. There's lots of Beatles records out there.
I saw in the news about 2 nights ago a couple of these concert festivals, you know, and some of them are, you know, around this price, $600, and they're offering payment plans now, for which I'm sure has interest attached to it. But I mean, that just sounds crazy to me to go and see a concert and have to pay interest on that. You know?
And that's the world we live in these days, because everything's gotten so expensive. So most people don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they want to have an actual, you know, decent life and go out and do things. Concerts. I mean, here in Vancouver, AC/DC's coming to Vancouver. To buy one ticket for AC/DC is $600. I'm not going.
Is there a
not going
for that?
I mean, I could if I wanted to, but why would I why would I pay $600 to do this?
Yeah,
I'd have buyer's remorse the moment I walked out of that arena.
In the 80s, it would have been $15.
That's per ticket.
Are concert tickets subject to tariffs? Is that what's going on?
I think that's what it is, especially if you're coming up to Canada. Well, also too in Canada, there's higher taxes that any American band or sports person or whatever would have to pay than they would in, let's say, Florida, or there's no state tax, right? So it's a lot more. And plus, 65 cents to the U.S. dollar doesn't help either. So our dollar is devalued a lot relative to the U.S. dollar. So it doesn't help.
Has that changed the last few months, or is it?
No, not at all. Has not changed. It won't change, because I mean, it does help for exporting, right, and all that stuff. Because we are your biggest trading partner here in Canada and the U.S. I know lots of the news doesn't ever say that, but yeah, I mean, most of the oil that you guys get is refined in the States, and then it's brought back up to Canada as gasoline, and that's where we're charged all these different taxes and duties and crazy stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, this is a record show. So what makes a record truly audiophile? I mean, that's the $1 million question. And we've got all these great mastering engineers today, the Kevin Grays, the Chris Bellmans, the Bernie Grunmans, the Levi Seitz, the Ryan K. Smiths. So you could get these guys mastering from the AAA tape or even digital, and we can consider it audiophile, couldn't we? Is there really any definitive way we can define what makes a record truly audiophile? Who wants to jump in first on this one?
Well, I'm happy to present. But I don't know if I can answer that question specifically with what I've pulled. So I said I may have been a little bit off target. But, you know, I think one of the things I really enjoy about record collecting is getting different versions of the same record. I'm into that. And obviously part of that is getting different sounding records to some extent, hopefully enhanced sounding, better sounding. But it's also a little bit about collecting and completeness and all of that. So since we're on the Beatles, I pulled my White albums last night, my copies of the White Album, and I'll just kind of flip through those. And
let me interrupt you. So these, in your eyes, and the ones that you have, you'd consider an audiophile sort of record in a way?
Well, most of them are high quality pressings, and you can kind of be the judge. None of these have a UHQR banner or there, I think I've got one that's a special pressing, the most recent, but a remaster. But these are all original, right? So I go after original pressings. This is a UK pressing. This is a first press mono, number 489870. So not an early pressing. This, at the time I bought it, was the most expensive record I'd ever bought, and I think I paid $500 for this online. I bought it around my birthday, kind of as a self gift. These are the top loaders. And here's
that top loader.
Let me interrupt you. And that's the thing about the Beatles box. They went back authentic. So there's, it's top loaders again, right? For the mono box on the White Album.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I like those kind of features. Here's the original stereo pressing again, not that early, 251,000. And then I've got a, I didn't buy this because I thought it would sound better. This is a South African copy. My wife and I were over there last year, and so found a copy in a store there. But it's interesting to have. And this is actually a low number, 4,500. And then I've got a couple other sort of repressings. This was one that came out. This is again from the UK, but it's on white vinyl instead of black vinyl. And that was kind of a special pressing. And I remember when that came out, that was in the 70s, late 70s. And the last one I'll show, this is the only one that's really could be called an audiophile pressing. This came out in 2018, and this is a remaster. And I'm trying to remember who did this. It was one of the, golly, it's somebody. It was a son of somebody famous.
Giles Martin's. Giles Martin.
George Martin's son, yeah. And so I bought that at the time. So those are my 5 copies. So you can call that an illness, and it's not like I do comparisons of the 5 of those. I may get into more of that sort of thing now that I have more time on my schedule. But for me, I'm buying those because it's, first of all, it's my favorite Beatles album. But second of all, I do that with a lot of other records because it's just kind of fun. It's fun to have.
So those are more the originals other than the remix in terms of audiophile. I mean, some can even say that some of these originals that we have are audiophile. So example would be, Michael, would be the Robert Ludwig Hot Cut, Led Zeppelin 2. I mean, that's considered audiophile, would you not say? And that's an original. So I think really what truly makes a record audiophile is probably in the eye of the beholder as well.
How it sounds.
It could be an original, right?
I think it's always in the eye. I think you're right on. It's quality. That's out of that book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. If everybody's read that,
I've read that. I read that in college.
Yeah, I did too. Right, all the cool kids were reading it, so I wanted to be a cool kid. So, but really, the theme of that book is quality is really just what you like. It's all about what you like.
And that's the debates we have. You see all these shootout videos. Oh, this record sounds better than this record because it has more bass or less high end. You know what I mean? I mean, really, everyone's system's different. Everyone's ears are different. Everyone's room is different. The environment's different. There's so many variables that you can't really nail one pressing down versus the other. I think it's what you feel sounds the best. And so, I mean, I used to do a lot of those shootouts, and it gets to a point where you get a lot of confirmation bias as well, unless you're doing blind shootouts all the time, which is very tough to do. And you have to have the right room environment and the right equipment as well, and really spend, I'm talking hours on it to get it right. And even then, you might not get it right. And even then, most people might not agree with you. So it's very hard to do that as well, accurately. You're not going to be right every single time. It's just music's 100% subjective. It's an emotional experience for all of us in different ways. Every song, every record, every band. It's the experience. It's where we were at the time when we heard that. Maybe we listened to them live in concert, so you have that memory.
Yeah, I have a lot of records that may not be the best sounding, and some that are. But like my Black Sabbath, the live one, the Live Evil, I'll never get rid of that. That was the first concert I ever went to. Was that tour? That was the Mob Rules tour. So I've listened to that record once. I have a beautiful copy. If I'm going to listen to Black Sabbath, and I'm probably going to listen to the studio albums. But that's one that's definitely sentimental meaning to me.
You got a fan here, Dr. Robert. Chuck T's here for the doctor.
At least I got one. Right? You know.
There you go. So I
Thanks.
really think it's a subjective thing, but I mean, then you have all the audiophile labels that have come out, and it's obviously a lot of it is marketing. It's a big marketing push too.
Should I go ahead and tell you my version of what I feel on this whole thing, Steve?
I'm gonna get to you. 1 second.
Okay.
It's really about marketing, the vinyl that's being used, the processes. Is it a one step? Is it a UHQR? Is it clarity vinyl? We're getting to all these little variables, and it gets hard as a consumer to really figure out where we stand in all this and what does sound the best. 33 versus 45 RPM. I mean, there's that debate as well. So Michael, chime in. What do you think?
Okay. So I like many of us, I kind of went through a phase probably from about 2010, 11, even I've collected vinyl my whole life, where I started buying the the audiophile issues, for instance, the MoFi when they came out, like the Dire Straits, the Billy Joels that were kind of 45 RPM, for instance.
So the more recent ones.
Yeah, and I either had or later purchased original pressings. In some cases, I had them, but maybe I didn't have the one I wanted, and I've been going back. I've been spending more of my time finding original pressings, like Dr. Robert was talking about also. And in many cases, so when I go record shopping now, if I see, when I look at the dead wax, if I see Sterling stamped in there, if I see TML for the mastering lab, if I see the Artisan Sound logo, if I see Precision, which was in California, those are all awesome mastering facilities. They were, and their cuts are really, really good. In many cases, original Sterlings for me, like for Dire Straits and for Billy Joel records, I prefer the original pressings to the MoFi 45s. They sound
Santa
better.
Maria is another really good one. If I see
the Columbia, the pressing plant, you mean? Yes. Yeah, and I think for RCA in Indianapolis, I believe, was their best plant. Yeah,
People talk about Monarch pressings.
You're talking about the Monarch too. Yeah, Monarch. Yeah, the Doors. Monarch is the desired pressing to have the first album. Yeah.
I see
Same
an
with
MO
AC/DC. Yeah, see the little M with the circle in it. So as you get more experience in collecting, you're looking for these things, And
Right.
Kevin Gray was working at Artisan. That was his first job, So, but like Steve said, there isn't any hard. There is times where for instance, a lot of the AP45s that Chad's putting out, some of those do sound better than the original. So there's no hard and fast rule,
What makes it an audiophile? What makes it truly an audiophile record? I think it's really in what you feel. It's a subjective thing. You might like the 45 RPM of, let's say, I don't know, MoFi's Grateful Dead. You might think this is the greatest sounding American Beauty by Mobile Fidelity, this is the 45 RPM.
Can I ask, so is there a technical aspect of why a 45 RPM record would sound better than a 33 and a third RPM record? I mean, I'm if there is, I'm not familiar with what the physics, I guess.
Go ahead, Michael.
So I guess I'm going to say it depends who you ask, right, Steve?
Yeah.
I think that's the way to put it. However,
just what you like.
Yeah. So mechanically, mastering engineers can cut louder because you have more real estate. The other piece with 45 is when you put 2 to 3 songs to a side, you don't have to go into the inner diameter as much. So you're less prone to inner groove distortion.
So easier for the mastering engineer as well. Doesn't have to worry about that, especially if it's a longer side.
And for your cartridge too, to track it.
Well, should we go back to 78 RPM then?
That would be amazing, because I think that would truly be the best dynamic sounding speed to use, wouldn't it, Michael?
Yeah, I have some test pressings Classic Records did in the 90s that were cut at 78 RPM. There's 4 of them.
So Classic Records in the 90s, they experimented with 78 RPM. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which albums were they?
It was 3 RCA Living Stereo titles. And then there was I think it was Ella Fitzgerald, the song Night in Tunisia, another one. Yeah.
I mean, if you're a jazz fan, I mean, we are truly living in the golden age.
100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The classic series. I mean, if you were going to find an original of the Sidewinder, which I've had and I've sold them for incredible amounts of money. Rudy Van Gelder was always frustrated with with vinyl as a medium.
He liked it when the CD came out, right? Like the whole
and the ones now, especially with the Tone Poets, the classic series, they can definitely bring that bass up a lot more. And you're getting a brand new record, and you could spend $300 on a Sidewinder or a Monin, like I said, or you can spend $38 on a Tone Poet or $29 for a classic, and it's going to be clean and it's going to sound better. I mean, the people that was listening to those, I think you've even said that in the 50s, they didn't have bass heavy systems. They couldn't.
And that's the one thing that's changed as well, right, Robert? Both Roberts. It's your systems now that have changed. So we have all these records now. We have systems that people didn't have even 20 years ago. Even the equipment to remaster these records weren't where they were 20, 30 years ago as well. So there's a lot more quality going into them. Even the vinyl, they've done a lot of research on the vinyl formulations as well, and the different plastic that's being used and the experimenting there. So there's a lot more, I think, should be better sounding records than 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, you would think, based on everything that we've learned over that time period. So
talking about system dependent, and again going back to the Beatles mono box set, how many people that are buying the box set have a mono cartridge?
Yeah, I don't
know. Maybe 5%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys have hit on two of the really great reasons to repress records, and I mean, I think the vinyl resurgence is great. I mean, if you can sell them and there are people that want them, if you make it, they're going to come. So, but the two things are that nowadays the pressing quality of the whole process is so much enhanced over what it was in the 60s and 70s. So we're getting a better product. And the second thing is that the originals for some of these are just impossible to find at reasonable prices. And so, to make them available to the public again in vinyl format, I think, I just think it's a great thing. And it's fun to have watched. I mean, I have collected records since I was in 7th grade. So, seeing this become popular, I love it. I love it.
So really, I think it's in the eye of the beholder what truly makes a audiophile record what it is. A lot of marketing today. So you hear audiophile. Oh my gosh, audiophile. It's got to be the best sounding one. Well, we've been doing this for a while now, doing these shows for a while. We've been collecting for a long time. It really is subjective to the listener.
Even the one step is subjective. Some like it and some don't like it, right? We've heard so many opinions in that.
Well, I mean, prior to DSD Gate, everyone loved MoFi. Thought it was the best sounding stuff. And as soon as that news came out, and all of a sudden MoFi doesn't sound good, I got to return all my records. That's complete confirmation bias. That makes no sense to me.
And going back to the jazz, you have like that dot label that comes out of Russia, and they put stamp audiophile on there.
And they're cut off CDs or streaming. Yeah. And there's ones in Italy too, because they don't have the same copyright laws in Italy. Everything goes into public domain after so many years.
Yeah, I tend not to buy records that were probably made by a guy wearing a tracksuit and gold chains.
You don't think that would be good quality? No,
I don't know.
Sometimes I wear a tracksuit. I got no cold chains though.
No gold chains. There you go. You don't fit the equation, Dr. Robert.
I'm seeing a lot of it in the comments. Some want to see more titles done on CD, saying that they would even sound better than on vinyl. I mean, there's that CD versus vinyl debate. I mean, we've had that for years.
Yeah.
I had I remember where I was, and I know my first CD I ever purchased was 1988, I guess it was. It was U2's Rattle and Hum. That was my first CD I ever bought, and I'm like, wow, this CD is great, right? You just press play, and it's clear, and it's loudness wars, right? They amped it up so you could sound really good.
My first CD was U2 The Joshua Tree in 1987.
There you go. You beat me by a year. You're a little bit older than me, Michael. That's probably why. But yeah, 1988 is when I got my first CD player, and I was like, wow, I love this. So from that, then I was buying CDs and I was buying records still, and I still had cassettes. I was doing all this stuff. I mean, that was the golden age of all three was about, mid to late 80s is when people would have a cassette player still, record player, and then they'd get a CD player added onto their system. That was me. Yeah. 1988.
I had an 8-track prior to
my parents had 8 tracks in their cars. I always find the 8 tracks were weird, right? Because it was like it was hard to find the song you wanted. You couldn't ever find it. That was my biggest problem with it.
And then it would do like you could even see on the case reprise on there.
I collect 8 tracks. You have to get it serviced though. Yeah, the splices have to be replaced. I just got this last weekend as a country and western box set of 8 tracks.
Nice.
Oh, look, they're still sealed too. I got Tammy Wynette, Merle Haggard, Loretta Lynn, lots of stuff. Johnny Cash.
I don't think. I hope that didn't cost $580.
The guy gave it to me for
10 cents.
He gave it to me for. I bought a lot of records. I got
free.
Yeah,
free.
It was $5. They gave it for free.
My favorite price.
Steve, what you were saying leads to another kind of interesting topic, which is digital versus analog format. And a lot of vinyl collectors are just livid about if something is digital rather than analog. But I know you can tell with a machine the difference, but I'm not sure that listening to it I can. I'll just say that.
Someone's mentioning mini disc. I got those too. Remember mini disc?
I knew you had those.
And I have a player back here too. This one.
Is that old Sony mini disc player?
I got that for $50 last year.
Is that your Sony mini disc player? Probably.
Yeah, I bought it for $50 last year.
So someone was cassettes making a comeback. I know Robert, Vinyl Cowboy Robert. Cassettes. Yeah. Do you feel they're making a comeback? I know you because you have a cassette player. You've sent me a lot of stuff. You're into the cassettes. I'm definitely not into cassettes.
They're making a comeback. Yeah.
Why do you think they're making a comeback? But why?
The way that I think they're fun.
They are fun.
In this hobby that we have, you're kind of talking about, the digital thing. Sure, it would be great to have a streamer and I could play whatever I want. It's never going to skip. I don't have to worry about warps. I mean, sometimes you put a record on and it does, it can be a very frustrating hobby when you have a bad sounding record or a poorly pressed record. But, but with digital, you never have to worry if it's going to be warped or there's a scratch, or if there's a tick or whatever. It's very easy. It's very convenient. But and sometimes if I'm playing some records and it has that problem, like, why do I kill myself with this? But then when you have that record that just sounds fantastic and the warmth and you get all that, I think that at the end of the day, that's why we do it. That's why we're in this hobby. Fortunate enough, I have a Nakamichi. I don't have a Dragon. I have an RX-202. And I have people come over and they always say the same thing whenever I'm playing. They go, gosh, I never knew cassettes could sound so good. They're easy.
So I'm going to interrupt you, Robert. Gansey was saying pure nostalgia for a cassette deck. Would that be part of why you're doing it as well? I mean, even vinyl, pure nostalgia for us, especially our age bracket. We grew up with, like, for me personally, I'm 51 years old. So I grew up with vinyl, with cassettes and CDs pretty much at the same time for me. So I could experience all of them. So for me, it's nostalgia for all three formats still.
They say CDs are making a comeback. I did a CD show on Anarchy about a month ago. I had a bunch of Japanese CDs. It even had the little Obi stripe on there and what have you. And the results of that show is I don't see the CD coming back. I don't think there's a big restart. I've done many cassette shows and they do okay. I do all right. I don't do quite as many as I used to. But this CD revival, personally, for me, and with Anarchy Vinyl and my selling, I was even at the Orlando record show, and I had a bunch of CDs. I think I may have sold 3 CDs at that show. So if the CD is coming back, personally, I'm not seeing it.
Well, I made a comment in one of my shows. I said, vinyl is selling more than CDs, and we've known that a couple of years ago that started. It was the first time ever since '86 that happened. And someone commented after in one of my shows that no, and apparently in Europe or in the UK, there's a huge resurgence of CDs, and they might be selling as quickly or as much as the vinyl.
It's an interesting question. I haven't I bought a bunch of CDs back in the day when they were popular, and I like them. I do. For me, there is still something about the physical format of vinyl that draws me in, and I don't know if it was just the age at which I started listening to it. The impact records had, for me growing up, they kind of opened up the world to me in a way that wasn't available just in the immediate environment that I was living in, and so it for me, it's more than nostalgia. I mean, it is, but there's something about picking up, pulling out a record, putting it on
tangible.
The ritual.
And it's also bigger. It allows for more interesting artwork and whatnot than CDs or cassettes do. So,
well, and that's the argument I always have too. It's like, the younger generation. I mean, we've got to continue this vinyl resurgence to the younger generation. I mean, it's obviously baby boomers, Gen X like myself, and are into it because we've been into it our whole lives. But it's the generation after this and millennials that need to get into it more, because at some point in 5 or 10 years, some of the population disappears. I'm sorry to say that. It just happens. I mean, it does happen. So where is the next buyers and demographic for these records? And I think that's one area that the record labels need to figure out sooner than later. I really do.
Cassettes, though, I've seen them at record stores, new releases like Sabrina Carpenter, Chapel Row, and Clairo. They're selling them.
Yep.
And there's even a company in France called We Are Rewind that makes Walkmans again, and they even have Bluetooth on them.
Well, there's a great website called Tapehead City, and they have a bunch of. I bought the Modern Lovers. I mean, trying to find an original copy of the Modern Lovers. I mean, how much is that going to cost you? I got it on cassette, and it's still analog. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know how it's sourced, but I mean, I have that.
I like what Eddie's Albums is saying, though, too. Where did I put it? Here. 3 requirements of an audiophile LP: should have a decent master tape, expert mastering, lacquer cutting, and top quality pressing. I mean, pretty much that is, in a nutshell, an audiophile record in today's standards, right? So let's give an example. Let's use Analog Productions UHQR, for example. They use the analog tapes. They use Clarity Vinyl, which is a new vinyl compound. And they use some of the best master engineers, such as Ryan K. Smith, Bernie Grunman, Chris Bellman, etc. That's pretty much the audiophile cuts these days, right? And then you can say, well, there's other records out there, like Chris Bellman has cut, Tom Petty or the Grateful Dead, all from tape, but in a non-audiophile marketing sort of scheme. So that's audiophile as well.
Well, my youngest daughter is 20, and she's always just last week, Doors, Waiting for the Sun. She's like, Dad, can you get me this? I get DMs from her all the time, and her music tastes definitely are the 70s. I mean, she likes Lana Del Rey, of course, but she also, likes the Doors. And
are you buying her vinyl, or are you buying her cassettes, or what is it?
Vinyl. For her graduation on her 18th birthday, I got her a nice little setup, little mini tube setup and stuff. So, yeah. I
tried to get my son's 22, and when he was, I think, 16, I bought him a turntable and speaker setup and like 10 records, all classic, Queen, Day at the Races, and Eagles, Hotel California. He never touched it.
my son's almost 19, and he collects records too. We bought Stereo Lab last weekend, the new release.
Oh, nice.
He likes Yellow Magic Orchestra, the Japanese band. He's really into that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So he probably has about 40 or 50 records. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it can be expensive when you have my other daughter too. She just turned 30. They both. I mean, I'm sending them records all the time.
Me too. I buy them for him now.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the demographics are tilted towards people in our age group.
Well, yeah, let's get to that as well. So you see what's, a lot of the labels are coming out with, we call them baby boomer titles. So we hear that a lot. No, is Rhino Hi-Fi Steve going to do another baby boomer title? I turn around here and you can see the last 2 that came out yesterday. You've got Stevie Nicks' Belladonna from 1980 and the Wilco AM 1995. I mean, that's not baby boomer, so they're moving up a bit. That's not bad. But so one baby boomer title, one Gen X title. So they're figuring it out. But yeah, the market still is tilted, Dr. Robert, towards
definitely
the baby boomer, because who has the money to buy?
Well,
so
probably that too.
That is the big thing. I mean, we all know, we can conclude today, and we've concluded this for a while, that the record labels are in it to make money. But the problem with these record labels is that it's slow. It's a slower process than us as a consumer want it to be, to get them to repress the Beatles monobox or get them to do Metallica through Rhino Hi-Fi. You know, it takes time to negotiate all that stuff that goes into it. I want to see Metallica on the Rhino Hi-Fi label. That would be amazing. Will it happen? Well, it's all about negotiating.
A lot of their records sound pretty good already.
I think they own their rights themselves. Isn't it Blackened Recordings or something?
But again, why not go out there, go out on a limb, start selling, start getting this stuff. That would be stuff. That would be, you know, really thinking out of the box. A Metallica Rhino Hi-Fi cut, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a market for it. I'm sure it would sell.
An AC/DC box set, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
This here, 1988 UK pressing, Metallica Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, I have one on Megaforce too, an original from.
Oh wow, yeah, it sounds awesome.
But that has been recut by our friend Levi Seitz, and that sounds awesome too. I have that copy.
The Levi's version would be digital.
Too.
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't it Ryan Smith that cut the reissues? Most of those.
I think it was Chris Bellman, but now, now Levi Seitz has recut Master of Puppets. He's local here in Seattle, and also the first album, Kill 'Em All.
And that's the thing. I mean, people complain about some of the titles that, you know, Hi-Fi or Rhino Hi-Fi are doing. So they were disappointed with the last two behind me. A lot of people are like, I got Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks has been done 1,000 times. Chris Bellman's cut it. You know, who else has cut it? Ryan K. Smith cut it for Vinyl Me Please. So do we need another Belladonna? I don't know. That's, I guess, a lot of disappointment there. Mm-hmm. Will there be more black? Will there be more Black Sabbath? Of course, there'll be more Black Sabbath. I mean, just that's what sells, right? It just takes time.
Yeah.
Beatles the Beatles box, the mono sold really well. I mean, we don't know how many were pressed. We still figure there's more out there to be pressed. It just takes time. This whole buy now or cry later is 100% FOMO to get you to spend money. I mean, the Beatles have been around for 60 years. The music hasn't changed as far as I can see, except for these remixes. It's still there.
I was
harder to get clean copies.
The Beatles box set. I was, you know, price on there. I thought for sure. I mean, the Black Sabbath, I can see them selling in a day. You know, it's $48. 500. You know, we were talking about 540. With my shipping, it came out to $601.38.
And that's US. So us Canadians are probably $800 or $900 for the same deal.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I thought, you know, are we not in this FOMO stage? But you know,
yeah, there's a lot of demand out there for sure. And first, you know, it's bands like the Beatles or Black Sabbath that have huge audiences still out there.
The Metallicas, you can get that into a hi-fi label.
Metallica. Can I show a couple of examples, because we were talking about, you know, what sounds better, and there's a lot of debate among record collectors about various types of pressings. Can I show a few of those, Steve?
Love it.
I pulled out some pairings, so you're not going to recognize this looking at it, but that is a test pressing, right? So I don't have very many test pressings, but when I find them, I buy them. That's a test pressing of Bootsy. The name is Bootsy Baby, that record. So I listened to these side by side last night, and I would say, yes, there was a greater clarity in crispness to the test pressing as opposed to the standard pressing. I'll show a couple more just for discussion purposes.
Can I interject for a second, Robert? There was a question I've always had about test pressings. Test pressing is exactly that, is it not? It's a test to make sure, you know, hey, do the highs sound right, to the lows, whatever. And then why would a test pressing sound better than the final product?
Well, and that's the debate, right? So I think you're right on, and sometimes they do tweak it, and then maybe other times they say, oh yeah, we got it. And you know, it is the very first pressing off the stamper, right?
So, yeah, if it is, hey, that's the one we want. I mean, you couldn't have a more fresher copy.
Right.
So a few months ago, we had RTI on a Steve show here, and Doran and Don said from RTI that when they do test pressings, just throw them on the machine. They don't calibrate it as much. They're rough test pressings, but when they make the final audiophile product, am I right, Steve? They actually will spend time get everything just right for the actual releases.
Yeah. So again, it would be, the test pressing's okay. I've learned too from over the years doing this show and having these guests on that having the actual pressed copy is the way to go, not the test pressing.
Not the test pressing. So
Even I've gotten lots of test pressings. I won't pull them out from, and
Yeah.
it even says you might incur pops or clicks or different sounds. I mean, they even have these disclaimers on them as well. So
I also collect test pressings. I love collecting them, and sometimes they sound amazing. So again, no hard and fast rule, right, Steve? It just depends.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, Dr. Robert.
no.
I just I've always wanted, that was the question I've always had.
No. That's why I'm putting these up. Just to stimulate discussion. And I don't have enough test pressings to really have made an assessment. Oh, they're always better at all. But those two last night, I liked the test pressing as opposed to they were both good, but maybe a little crisper. Another one that comes up is picture discs, right? And I don't collect picture discs much. This is one I have, which is a Tubular Bells original copy, and then I have a quad pressing of Tubular Bells as well. And I played these side by side last night, and I have to say, I was expecting that the picture disc is going to sound comparatively worse, but I couldn't distinguish these two records from each other on my system. I thought they were very similar. Does anybody else buy picture discs, or is that like to me it's a little odd. It's something I don't do much.
Picture disc, especially in some of the music today, is more for the millennials. It's a marketing thing, I would say. The Heapster's asking, he was saying Buckingham Nicks. I mean, that's obviously a record that has not been reissued for years. I've got a original Canadian copy. That's one that I've been wanting Rhino Hi-Fi to do, and Rhino Hi-Fi have the rights to it. So if they can figure out how to do that one, Rhino Hi-Fi release, Buckingham Nicks, possibly, if they can get it.
Will Lindsay ever sign off on it, though?
I don't know. That's the thing. I've talked to Patrick Millen about this. I mean, these are the things they're working on, right? So it would be Rhino that would get this one.
I will say I just sold my second copy of the original Buckingham Nicks.
They're going for about $125 now. I've seen it. Yeah, I have two of them.
Yeah, there you go.
But I paid $80 for mine. They weren't cheap. I bought them like 3 years ago. So
I sold one about 3 weeks ago, gatefold, a nice copy. I think it went for 90, 85, 90, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got one for $3 at a garage sale years ago.
Yeah.
Well, going back to test pressings, think about this. If you had a test pressing of the Tracy Chapman remaster that just came out, that would be interesting, because there's how many test pressings out there. She went back 4, 5, 6, 7 times to get it right before they pressed that. So
I don't know what happened, if it's my copy or whatever, but I got the reissue on black vinyl. I thought it sounded noisy to me, to my system.
It's probably it's the vinyl probably then, right?
I have a very transparent, I have a MC cartridge, a very detailed system, which can sometimes be to a detriment. But I just found it noisy, very noisy.
Interesting.
Rix V, Rhino has the rights to Buckingham Nicks. Just leave it at that.
Do you guys, getting back to what you were talking about, Bob? Do you guys clean new records?
Always.
Yeah, me too.
New records. Yeah.
I have a saying: there's nothing filthier than a brand new record.
It's funny because we were talking about all the higher quality aspects of modern record production, and yet, you sometimes get them now warped. You get them grimy as hell out of the record sleeve.
It's funny. I've never had a warped Dynaflex record.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever had a warped Dynaflex record?
I think it's a thing. I think the thicker records are more susceptible to it. Yeah.
And that,
interesting.
That was the whole reason for having them. He said these are going to be less prone to warping. And I'm fortunate. I have a record Pi, but out of my record pie, I have definitely had to fix more new 180 records than anything else.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is, this is my hypothesis, if you will. They're in set these there's not as many pressing plants as there used to be. They got to get them out. They got to make that money. And Michael T could probably, and doesn't it need to cool for a little bit?
Yeah, that's what I've also heard. If you don't have them cool for a certain amount of time, they warp.
And I think they're just it's like McDonald's hamburgers, man. It's just we got to get them
So
out.
we should bring back the Dynaflex as another audiophile vinyl option.
Yeah,
They all sound great, and I've never had a warped one.
Yeah.
What I don't think would be audiophile is this eco vinyl stuff that's out right now. A lot of the new pressings that I've not heard any good news from.
If we recreate the oil crisis, Dynaflex will come back.
Right? That's the reason why they did it to begin with.
Yeah.
I've never had all of my Dynaflex. I've got the Bowies and the Guess Who's and
Right.
what else? Anyways,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh was on Dynaflex, right? All sound great.
Lou
all
Reed.
sound amazing. Lou
Yeah,
Reed sounds. Oh, yeah, I have the Lou Reed. That sounds amazing
Lou
as well.
Reed just sounds awesome.
Transformer, right? Yeah.
Transformer. God, I love that.
I don't think there's probably
so
not a
good.
bad Lou Reed Transformer record out there. I think that was just they nailed that one from the from the masters. This sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
The Ziggy Dynaflex. Rick's is saying the Bowie. Yeah, the Bowie Ziggy sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some labels like Fantasy that also put out very similar thickness pressings, thin vinyl pressings in the early 70s that they didn't call Dynaflex, but essentially the same type of pressing. Yeah, Creedence Clearwater, those guys, for example, can find them. Am I making sense?
Making sense. So I don't think that, I mean, what makes a record truly audiophile in the eye of the beholder, but of course, an original could sound the best. We know from the Robert Ludwig hot cut of Led Zeppelin 2, that's the one to buy, and was never considered audiophile back in 1969. Most people didn't even have didn't have systems for that, right?
Yeah, quads. So quadraphonic pressings are an interesting topic too. You know, back in the day, and that obviously flopped. And I think the reason that it fell flat was they didn't consolidate around one system. So all of the different quad records were pressed in different formats that you couldn't play without a very specific system for that format. And so it just never caught on. I buy them now, not just to play, and I don't have a quad system, but mostly just because they're unique. But they play just fine through a stereo system.
I got a couple. I have a quad, a Japanese quad Abraxas. Sounds great. Sounds
nice.
Not to change the topic of quad, but Scott Wheeler, thicker vinyl makes a difference on poorly damped TT platters, not so much in a well damped TT platters.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many variables to this hobby. It's a full-time. This hobby, Michael, is becoming a full-time job almost.
And going back to Dr. Robert, the test pressings, I was giving an example recently with RTI. If you go back to the 1970s when they were pressing five, even up to 10,000 off one stamper, your test pressing is likely going to sound better. Because what if you had the 8,000th record pressed off the same stamper?
Well, and that's the one thing too. We don't have as many records being pressed. I mean,
Exactly,
remember years ago, you know, even Belladonna. Do you know there's 4 or 5 million copies of Belladonna back in its day since 1980?
And
that's a hell of a lot of records, right? So there was a lot of records being pressed back then. Lots out there. Right. Not the same number as today. It's not even close. I mean, to sell 5,000 records of something, that's a big day. That's a big week for any record label to do that. 5,000 of anything is huge now. Mm-hmm. That was just nothing back in the 60s and 70s. 5,000 was just an hour.
Right.
Well, it was the format. It was, you know what I mean? In the 70s, you wanted to listen, you know, to something. All these TV shows we say of the 70s, they all have record players in the background.
Right.
I mean, that was it wasn't one of these, there you go and play, you had to put a record on.
Right. Well, I've been encouraged. I've noticed on, some advertisements, made for TV, that they are showing vinyl. It has caught on to a point where it's entered the mainstream consciousness a bit.
I wanted to show one record. We talk about all these mastering engineers and kind of going with the Fleetwood Mac and the Buckingham Nicks and what have you. A guy that I don't think gets enough love is Steve Marcuson, who mastered
precision mastering. Yes.
Yeah, Tango in the Night.
DMM, that one
sounds incredible.
Yeah, I had that too.
My cassette sounds incredible, but I mean, and I know Mobile Fidelity. This is all I need. I mean, this thing sounds so darn good, and I don't know. There's some other ones that I've seen him do, but definitely doesn't get enough because that record just sounds really good. I mean, I have the Japanese, of course, as well. It's still mastered by Steve Marcuson. It's in the credits. But yeah, I mean, I know Mobile Fidelity. I think that was kind of low-hanging fruit, kind of easy. I think that's a record kind of how can you screw up? It was so well produced. It was so well recorded. But yeah, that.
But and they did screw up the first record. Remember that, Steve?
Yeah, how did you screw that up?
Was it was side one or side
I don't know. They had to go redo the first record, though. I remember that. The EQ was off or something.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen very. That's probably the first time MoFi has ever done that.
Never happened. Yeah, exactly.
I remember.
Yeah. Not to bash on MoFi, but it happened.
I don't think I mean, we talk about MoFi. I don't bash them. I have all their records. I haven't sold any of them. I still listen to them.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, the Miles Davis stuff they're doing, I think the consensus is those are some of the best sounding Miles Davis records out. So
yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
I think it's eye in the beholder. I mean, and then worth collecting long term. I don't want anyone, I mean, I know the Vinyl Cowboy is into selling and buying records, but me as a hobbyist, Michael T and Dr. Robert, I don't really care long term what these records are worth, to be honest with you. You can't take them with you. I'm here to enjoy them.
I'm an archivist.
Yeah.
But I don't know what my kids are I got to get rid of it before I die because I don't know what the hell my kids would do with it.
$1 a piece at a yard sale, right?
Well, Michael T would come over and say, "Hey, take this from you for $10.
$1 a piece."
Oh, hi there.
That's the thing. Have a plan, right? I mean, if life is precious. We've got all these records and all this stuff. What is this? What happens to all your stuff once you're gone?
I know. Well, it's a true thing. There was, I think a lot of people know Music Millennium, a famous store here in Portland, that advertised that they had acquired a collection and laid it all out on one day. And I showed up for the big sale, and I was just mauling through these records. And not in an ugly way, but I'm pulling them out, and it's not particularly respectful, I'll say, right? And this was a guy who had passed away. He was a record store owner himself, and his family was left to try to sort out what to do with his collection. And he had a fantastic collection. I ended up buying almost a whole box, but that's what happens to our stuff. I mean, that's a little more philosophical than we probably need to get into on this stream.
I like that though, but it's true. We all clamor to these new releases or reissues. Oh my gosh, I got to get it. The whole FOMO thing, but really, that's what I'm saying. People that missed out on this Beatles mono box set. I mean, the Beatles have been around for 60 years. The music hasn't changed, guys. Honestly,
I got dated by will. My daughter's, my eldest gets to choose the first record. Then the other gets to choose two, and then flip-flap. My jazz collection is going to, it was the Thelonious Monk School of Music. Now it's to Herbie Hancock. And in my will, my jazz collection is going to Herbie Hancock's School of Music for underprivileged children.
Yeah, that's cool. There are nice places like that. Yeah, there are nice options like that. Yeah.
And one guy, I got to add it. He really wants my white label promo Faster Pussycat, so I have to make sure that my good friend Walter gets that one. So, but I haven't updated that part yet.
I like this, Scott Wheeler. I won't care what happens to my records when I'm dead. I'll be busy being dead. True, but You'll be rolling in your grave when someone sells your collection for 10 cents on the dollar, right?
Well, a half hour after you're dead, your employer is advertising for your replacements.
I think it's 15 minutes, I heard even.
Maybe.
Okay, we need a new orthopedic surgeon. That heart's gone, so let's go. Get him next one up.
Yeah, that didn't leave a hole at all. I don't sense anybody not getting taken care of. So can I show one more sort of conversation starter? So this I compared last night too. So this is a Terrapin Station. This is a high quality pressing. And this is actually a promo copy that I got years ago, a white label. Nice. And I played these side by side, and they were, I couldn't distinguish. They were both great. And the promos to me sounded every bit as sharp as the super disc high fidelity pressing. So is promo worth getting? I mean, those again, they're the first off the stampers usually, I guess. Anybody like promo?
I would say as much, possibly. We never know.
I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, again, in the reselling, a promo is going to go more than, it could maybe add anywhere from 20 to 35%, tack that on, maybe even more to a record. As far
just
as
like a low number goes more, which makes no sense to me, because I mean, you look at the low number. Let's say you got a number 24. That doesn't mean it was a 24th record off the pressing plan. It makes no sense to me. That would be worth more.
Separate pressing it, and then they just marry the two. I mean, it's nice to have a low number, but it really doesn't mean it.
It's psychological. It's a psychological thing. That's all it is. Oh, I got number 24.
Well, this is definitely a very psychological hobby, though, too.
So, I mean, even behind me, I've got Wilco AM, Rhino Hi-Fi, and Belladonna. I got number 24, both of them. Is that worth more? I don't think so. Makes no difference. So I can conclude today.
Yeah.
Sure. We really need to feel that the truly audiophile, record is really up to us as the consumer. Because originals might sound better. The new audiophile cuts might sound better from Mobile Fidelity or from Analog Productions. It's really how you feel. I think also, too, audiophile could be AAA, could be digital, half cut. I mean, there's so many different variables to that could possibly make it an audiophile. So is the audiophile label more of a marketing thing then? Maybe?
Well, on some records, they are definitely.
Okay. And you always see that pressed at 180 gram audiophile quality. I mean, I remember seeing that for years.
Or pressed on audiophile vinyl.
So that's a marketing
scheme
there as well, I would think.
Well, I mean, a lot of people clamor for I have the Robert Ludwig Beck C changes.
Great sounding record. It's a $50 record or $40 record. Why not?
Maybe it does sound better, but my God, where does it stop? I mean, this sounds awesome to me.
So for $40, you can get that C change, or you can get the Mobile Fidelity for $700. Let's do the math on that, guys. I'll tell you right now. Stick with the Ludwig one that you just had up there, Robert. That's the one to own.
I would think so. I mean, you can't go wrong with Robert Ludwig.
I'm putting that record on. Go ahead.
Is there any Robert Ludwig records that you were like, that didn't sound very good?
Yeah. No, I just finally got an RL Zeppelin 2, but you showing that, I'm putting C change on as soon as we get off the stream.
It's still available, right? $40 for the Beck C change.
I think so. I got this off a fellow seller and I paid $40.
I don't want to say that's a 2016 remaster that they've repressed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
Someone here on the stream is saying I've bought 50 of the mono box sets. No, I did not. I wouldn't waste my time. I can make more money in the stock market. Yeah. C change is a great album. You don't need to buy the Mobile Fidelity for $800. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't even be priced that high.
And talking about fresher tapes or first pressings, I recently got the Neil Young,
nice.
the one that doesn't say, and
no.
I guess the other one, maybe they did some tweaks on it to maybe make it sound better. But you were talking, Steve, about, a lot of the systems changed or whatever. This one, it's just, to me, kind of almost has a bit of a tubey sound to it. If that makes sense.
Is that a two-tone label? Two-tone? Yeah.
What was that?
Is that the original two-tone label?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Where'd you find that?
Collection I got.
Nice.
I always keep, in every collection, I always keep one. And this is the one I kept.
Nice.
Yeah. Still have the original inner, really nice collection. That it was funny when I bought this collection. It was in this guy's storage unit for a couple years, and the gal that runs the storage unit said, "Hey, we got a bunch of records in here. I just want them out of here." And she goes, "Listen, I know some of them are worth something." She goes, $100, and you can just take them out. And again, I can only keep one, and this is the one I kept.
I think keeping only one shows amazing restraint, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the discipline. This is the one I kept.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Is it a torso cover?
Yes.
Oh, God, you're killing me.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, she said, and she goes, "I know some of these records are worth more, but and when I saw that, I just went, oh.
So Doo Dave saying, what's with you guys in the Northwest? Mazzy, Dr. Robert, and Steve. Well, we're the Pacific Northwest vinyl mafia. That's the thing, right?
Well, the problem out here is that for about 8 months a year, it is cloudy and gray, and
rainy.
Yeah. So hanging out inside, listening to music, not bad.
Well, I have some radio stations in Eureka. I mean, you can go for almost 2 months and you don't see the sun. I mean, it was the only place I ever knew that had tanning beds at video rental stores.
Rhino Reserve, I had Patrick Milligan on. I think it's really cool that they're using Matt Luthen's Michael T at the mastering lab. They're going to have all tube cuts going forward of some of this stuff on Rhino Reserve from the master tapes. That's amazing to have.
Is that all being done by Kevin Gray?
So Rhino Reserve is going to be both digital cuts and from the tape cuts, but they're using Doug Sachs's mastering lab, which is out in Salina, Kansas. Chad, Matt Luthen's doing it. It's all tube. It's going to be mastered all tube.
Chris Bellman did the initial titles, but now it's going to be Matthew Luthen's. Yes.
So I'm excited about the Rhino Reserves moving forward.
Yeah, me too.
Some really cool stuff. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, you talk often about Kevin Gray and his secret sauce. I mean,
I do. Well, I learned the secret sauce when we had Matt Luthen's on. Michael and I had him on. The secret sauce is definitely Kevin's machinery, or his equipment is 100% calibrated. Is from what I learned that you just pretty much press the button. He's so meticulous on the way his machines are that you don't have to do any adjustments. Whereas the mastering lab equipment, Michael, we had that tour, and guys, go back if you want to watch the mastering lab. Matt Luthen's did a full tour while we were on the show of everything, all the equipment, all the reel-to-reel tapes, how he records it, everything. It's unbelievable. But he has to sit there for hours, if not days, readjusting, and there's a fuse or this has to be readjusted. I mean, the whole system takes a lot more, where Kevin's is just click. I'm not saying that per se, but I'm just saying you don't have to worry about readjusting or worrying about it not working. That's the secret sauce.
And I know, the whole conversation between US, UK, between the Japanese presses. But one thing too about the Japanese, with their low runs, they calibrated their machines constantly. They were always calibrating. So I mean, in Japan, I mean, it was a work of art. But
here's the issue: the whole Japanese vinyl or the Japanese mastered stuff. And I know, Robert, the Vinyl Cowboy, you have a lot of it. We never talk about who's the master engineer for these Japanese pressings. That's never.
Look, and it's a lot of times they might just get the same metal parts or EQ.
So it's not anything to do with the mastering as much as the actual vinyl, then.
Right. Well, and also what I have read is in Japan, they're not big, like they're baseball players and they're not big on being celebrated. That's just like I was saying, in Japan, creating a record is considered a work of art, but not one person wants to take any credit for it. It was just, you know, so that just doesn't mean much to them on who the mastering. I don't know if you ever saw, was the movie Tom Selleck, Mr. Baseball, where he goes to Japan and you know, yeah, it's you play on our team. You are part of a team. It's not a, you know, and that's kind of how the mindset is in Japan. So they never really thought. I mean, who would have thought when we were buying records in the 70s that we would come back now in 2020, 2025? I mean, when I listen to a record, how many of you guys do this? You go on to Discogs and you find out who the mastering engineer was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we do that, but you know, 90% of people could probably maybe.
If it sounds good, just spin it, right?
Exactly.
Guys, it's we're past our hour and change. I'm gonna wrap it up. Saturday morning. Had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thanks.
I think I might want to do more of these Saturday morning shows.
This was fun.
Yeah,
so spin some records. The audiophile is truly what you make of it. And buy a record to play. Don't worry about the value, because you can make more money in other areas.
I think, to summarize, you've created Zen in the art of record collecting, Steve.
Oh, I have. There you go. Guys, have a great day. Really appreciate everyone. Thanks for watching. It's been awesome. Thank you so much. We'll chat again. Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.